for watching another episode of Soapbox. I'm Natalie Berg, Development News Editor of the online Ann Arbor magazine Concentrate. I'm joined by Jillian Ream Gainsley, who is a member of the board of the Ann Arbor Area Transportation Authority, better known as the RIDE. On May 6th, residents in the city of Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti, as well as Ypsilanti Township, will vote on whether to approve the RIDE's proposal to improve our public transit system. Jillian, what is the question that voters will be asked to decide?
Well, thanks for having me. On May 6th, people are going to have an opportunity to vote on whether we want to see a 44% increase in the amount of public transit service that's offered in Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti, and Ypsilanti Township. And 90% of that is going to be in Ann Arbor. So there's going to be a pretty major service increase, things like later night service on weekdays, more weekend service, and then additional services for seniors and people with disabilities. And it's a pretty exciting opportunity.
Great. So how much is this expected to cost the average homeowner?
So for a house that is worth $200,000, it's going to cost $70 a year in property taxes, and that's $70 for the family. So it's the equivalent of, say, a tank and a half of gas per year, or maybe $1.35 a cup of coffee a week.
Gotcha. So for $1.35 per week, what are the increase in services that people will receive?
Sure. So the major thing that people are going to see right away, and I'm saying right away this year, so if we vote yes in May, we're going to see in August big service hour increases. So those routes that now currently end at 7 o'clock, a lot of those are going to go to 10 o'clock or midnight. So people are going to be able to get around much later into the evening. And then the other big thing is going to be weekend service, which is something people have been asking us for years. And we want really badly to be able to provide service on the weekends so people can go grocery shopping, so they can get to worship services, and so they can go visit friends and family on the weekends. So we're excited to have the opportunity potentially to be able to add some of that service.
Sure. And what about for people with disabilities or the elderly? You mentioned there'd be increased services for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people don't know unless they use it. They don't know that we have this service which is called a ride. And so this is a dial-a-ride service. It's similar to kind of a taxi, and it gives people the opportunity to actually schedule their rides in advance. So if they need to go to a doctor's appointment or be able to make a trip, they can schedule their week and get this ride around. And so that service is actually going to be expanding in a couple ways. One is that it's going to have a bigger service area. So currently people who live in Ypsilanti Township aren't generally able to access that service, and now they're going to be able to get services throughout the entire area, and also some expansions within Ann Arbor. And then the second way it's going to expand is to have later hours again, so that people will be able to go and be able to do things in the evening or on the weekends.
Great. So I understand more than 50 area organizations and community leaders are supporting this proposal. Who are some of those leaders as well as organizations?
So we've had just a huge amount of support, and all kinds of different organizations have really come out in favor of this, and some organizations who frankly are not typically people who agree on a lot of things. So we're very proud of that. We've had the Ann Arbor Chamber of Commerce is a big one that came out in support. We've had a lot of people who represent seniors and those with disabilities, so the Area Agency on Aging, the Ypsilanti Senior Center, the Ann Arbor Community Center, the Center for Independent Living. We've had environmental organizations like Partners for Transit, the Ecology Center, the Sierra Club have all come out in favor of it. And then we've had personal endorsements from all three of the presidents of the universities in the area. We've had personal endorsements from the presidents of the hospitals. And then a large number of elected officials, our entire Washtenaw County delegation at the state level, Congressman John Dingell, quite a few of our mayoral candidates have all endorsed it. So there's quite a lot of support, and we really, and I think that's because it's a great proposal. So we really encourage people to vote yes.
Terrific, wonderful. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time. Jillian Ream Gainsley is a member of the Ann Arbor Area Transportation Authority Board. I'm Concentrate Magazine Development News Editor Natalie Berg. Thank you for watching Soapbox on Community Television Network. And don't forget to vote on Tuesday, May 6th.
In 1973, when Ann Arbor voters first approved a millage dedicated to public transit, the United States was learning a tough lesson due to the oil embargo. Cars were lined up around gas stations for a rationed amount of gas. Suddenly, we knew our main mode of transportation, the gasoline-powered automobile, might not be so reliable, and overnight, it had become more expensive. I have to believe that Americans, and Ann Arborites in particular, were starting to rethink our love affair with the automobile. I think there must have been some expectation that taxing ourselves for a public transportation system would allow us to escape the domination of the car as our mode of transport. But over these 4 decades, very few of us in Ann Arbor have been able to reduce our use of the automobile. One of the reasons is that our bus system is run mainly for the convenience of commuters. Those who do not live in Ann Arbor do not pay this tax, but have the benefit of park and ride lots and buses that take them to work and back. There is no doubt that there is some benefit for us in getting at least these cars off our streets. But what about those of us who are struggling to pay rent, mortgage, property taxes, or for food? Those of us who have been paying this transit millage for 41 years. We're still driving our cars, even if we don't want them. It costs between $7,000 and $15,000 a year to own and operate a car. Many people own them even though they really cannot afford them. Why is that? One reason is because our public transportation options really do not give us a choice. The AAATA is now asking Ann Arborites to increase our transit millage. It has attempted to justify this increase by pointing to the proposed route and scheduling changes. But do these changes really amount to that much of an improvement? If we vote yes, will we then be able to get out of our cars? No, not if we're reliant on the AAATA's new routing system within Ann Arbor. I do find some of the changes helpful, like the extension of hours of operation, but the routing still has many glitches that the authority has steadfastly refused to fix. Supporters of the millage increase insist that bus routing in Ann Arbor can only be designed as a hub because of the layout of the city. I think the authority has been operating under what you call a foolish consistency. If the AAATA's routing system is a hub and spoke, it's one without a rim and tire. I would propose that they add the rim and tire to those spokes. For instance, why not a North Maple, Stadium, Washtenaw, Huron, Jackson loop? Ann Arbor has many streets that run east, west, north, and south. They are not and could never be spokes radiating from hub to rim. This is where a modification of the present downtown-centric routing system would be beneficial. Why not run buses back and forth along 7th? Presently, there's not even service between 7th and Miller and Madison. And this doesn't change with the new routing system. Likewise, Huron Parkway, there's big gaps on Huron Parkway. These are the kinds of changes that would enable more of us who are taxed for this transit system to be able to actually use it and be able finally to get out of our cars, reduce our environmental footprint, and save ourselves the expense of owning a car. You might say, oh, they're not asking that much money. Can we really say this added expense is negligible for everyone, even those of us that are barely making ends meet? The presumption that Ann Arbor is full of rich people who owe a yes vote to Ypsilanti and Ypsilanti Township is offensive. Too many of us find it difficult to pay for our mortgages, rent, taxes, and all the expenses that come with car ownership. If we're paying dearly for a transportation system, we should have service that can get us across and around town. A rejection of this millage increase will tell the AAATA to get it right and to do right by the people who will continue to be the major contributors. This may be a rare case where no does mean yes. Yes to improved transportation for Ann Arbor. If you support public transit in Ann Arbor, it's okay to vote no. This may be our only chance to get the system we need. Vote no.
Hello, I'm Jeff Hayner, Ann Arbor resident. I'm here to speak to you about the upcoming May 6th special election that's been called to request a 34% increase in our transit millage. I've paid 2 mills for transit since I've lived in Ann Arbor for over 30 years. You too have supported transit directly through your property taxes or indirectly through your rent, and will continue for as long as you live in Ann Arbor. I've been speaking to a lot of people about this election, and many have told me that they believe a no vote is the right thing to do, but that they feel bad voting no and are hesitant to speak with others about it. But there are many legitimate reasons to vote no May 6th. I encourage you to share these reasons with others and help facilitate a long overdue discussion on the role of transit in our city. This millage has been cast using a costly professional public relations effort as a referendum on one's support for public transit and one's character, an attempt, in my opinion, to shame people into voting yes or not voting at all. The transit lobby is counting on you staying home. That's why $100,000 of public money was spent to hold a special May 6th election. A May election is used to slip things past the voters. That's not right. Enough time to allow proper discussion is warranted. The local transit lobby wants you to only have time to consider one carefully crafted side of the story. That's why they've spent untold hundreds of thousands of public dollars more promoting themselves using interconnected advocacy and special interest groups who stand to profit if this millage passes. There are many good reasons to summon the courage to vote no, and it's important to remember, no services will be lost if this millage increase doesn't pass. You can vote no, and you will continue to support transit. You can vote no if you think that 40 years of transit investment at current levels has worked well enough to bring us a decent, usable system, and you believe that continuous improvements, steady and cost-effective improvements, are the best way to grow a system for the long run. I support the senior free ride program, but it's okay to vote no if you think that riders should have fair equity. Why should downtown employees ride for free while others pay full fare? A no vote will encourage the AAATA to look for other sources of revenue. I suggest they start by looking to the users of the system for a modest fare increase. Even a 25-cent per ride increase would generate an additional $1.7 million each year, which grows to over $4 million when matched by qualifying service grants. That would certainly pay for the modest amount of service hours and increased peak services that riders have been asking for. You can vote no if you feel your tax dollars are not being spent wisely. A no vote asks the AATA leadership to earn the public's trust and to look for ways to increase efficiencies. There are 133 employees that drive buses and 89 employees that don't. There are material errors in the AATA's audited financial statements. Millions that should have gone toward service improvements was instead squandered on rail studies, regional expansion efforts, marketing, and selective economic development. A no vote is a vote for prudent use of public funds. If you don't want your rent and your cost of living to increase, you can vote no. If you're a person of modest means, a no vote will keep more money in your pocket, where you can decide how to best spend or save it. If you're on a fixed income and don't know how you will pay the increased taxes, you should vote no. You can vote no and still believe that public transit is good for the community, akin to critical services like road repair. But if this millage passes, we'll be paying more for the buses than for the poorly maintained roads the buses ride on. A no vote will keep our priorities in order. You can vote no if you believe that the demand for increased services is exaggerated, as unbiased reports suggest. You can vote no if you disapprove of downtown-centric route design or find the transit system difficult to use. You can vote no if you don't think it's appropriate that CEO Michael Ford gets an $800 a month automobile stipend, or if you want to keep your transit investment from being diluted by a DDA tax skim. If you feel your taxes are high enough already, you can vote no. A no vote will encourage the AAATA to take a hard look at our bottom line. Each ride costs $4.75 to provide. A full fare, which only few pay, is only $1.50. Therefore, each ride results in a loss to the taxpayers of $3.25. That's over $20 million a year. This is an unsustainable model for a transit system. We should not be asked to enlarge this subsidy. You can vote no for any number of reasons, and I encourage you to do so. Ask your family, friends, neighbors, and coworkers to consider voting no this May 6th. You might be surprised how many of them already plan to. Your vote is private, but if you feel that no is the right vote May 6th, consider sharing your feelings with others. It's that important. Use your voice and your vote. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Kathy Griswold, and I'm a member of Better Transit Now. With me is Libby Hunter. As background information, I'd like to say that I was a member of the Ann Arbor Public Schools Board of Education from 2001 until 2005, and I was one of the strong advocates for the $250 million bond that built Skyline High School and provided needed renovations to all of our schools. So I'm really not an anti-tax person, but I do believe that our taxes should be spent in the most effective and efficient manner. With me is Libby Hunter.
And I'm definitely not an anti-tax person either. I'm a member of Better Transit Now. We have completed a document which hopefully you'll find at various locations around town or maybe even in your doorway. At the top it says 5 reasons to vote no for the 34% transit tax increase. And that is an election being held on May 6th specifically just for this transit millage. We have 5, as I said, 5 top reasons to vote no. The first one is additional bus service hours and improved transit services have been requested of the AAATA. Instead of working hard and efficiently to deliver them, the AAATA is withholding these improvements until they receive more property tax dollars. This is unacceptable. These additional services can be delivered now without a tax increase.
How? By refocusing on core services. The Ann Arbor Area Transportation Authority does not need 52 management staff for 133 bus drivers and 37 support staff. It is not necessary to spend $577,000 on community outreach or $1.1 million on lavish public relations campaigns. In today's Ann Arbor News, Thursday, April 10th, the front page article is on big payday decline. The Ann Arbor Public Schools has consistently, year after year, reduced their administrative staff. We believe that it's time for the Ann Arbor Area Transportation Authority to do the same thing. Libby?
And number 3 on this our Better Transit Now document. Better Transit Now values the professionalism and courtesy of our excellent AAATA bus drivers. Our recommendation calls for no reduction in drivers or their pay or benefits.
Number 4, the proposed transit tax is unnecessary and would be a second transit property tax for Ann Arbor property owners and renters who already pay 23 local property taxes. More property taxes makes Ann Arbor less affordable for young people, families, and grandparents.
And number 5, the last number on our document, or the last point, economic comparisons to other Michigan bus systems show just how unconcerned the AAATA is when it comes to managing and spending your tax dollars reasonably. The ATA spends $115 per bus service hour, whereas the Grand Rapids bus managers spend $84 per bus service hour. With the AAATA's 200,000 annual bus service hours, it's easy to see that greater operating efficiency would generate the same or more funds than the proposed second transit tax.
Please join us in voting no on May 6th, the special election that is costing taxpayers $100,000 just to hold the election. In addition to that, the AAATA has had a very elaborate, expensive marketing campaign to, quote, educate the public about this special election to raise our transit taxes by 34%. And in closing, I'd like to say that by voting no on May 6, you are telling the Ann Arbor Area Transportation Authority to get moving and deliver the identified service improvements without bartering for another transit property tax. The bloated administrative structure that exists today is not responsive to the needs of our community and is not a sustainable organization. Thank you. Please visit bettertransitnow.org.
My name is Elaine Roman. My topic is Deir Yassin, turning a tragedy into a spark of hope. On April 9, 1948, 66 years ago yesterday, the massacre of Deir Yassin took place in Palestine. Only 1 month before the State of Israel was proclaimed, the Deir Yassin massacre was not the only one, but it was the most tragic one because it was the intentional spark of fire which scared the Palestinians to flee from their homes and land. The Aragan and the Stern gangs were sanctioned by the Haganahs, the Zionist leaders. These gangs went from house to house spraying bullets and grenades into homes. It mattered little who was in the house, men, women, children. They then brought out the men and children, lined them up against a wall and shot them. The women were put in trucks naked and paraded around Jerusalem. Some also raped. This incident caused extreme fear and panic throughout the Palestinian villages and towns, causing the people to flee. 5 minutes isn't enough time to express what constant, inhumane actions were taken against the Palestinians by the Israelis for the next 66 years. After that, continuous home demolishing, uprooting trees, imposing curfews, blockade, killing, assassination, imprisonment, starvation, lack of water, electricity, medicine, and education, dropping nuclear waste on Palestinian land and shores, illegal settlement, and the wall. The list goes on and on and on. Imagine what a toll the tragedies will take on a person, especially a child. I don't blame the Israelis because they have the power of weapon, and these weapons made them slaves to the power of evil acts, unable to follow the power of conscience. I consider all children our children because they are the future of our society. What hurts me the most is the effect on a young soldier after he kills, injures another human. What will happen? Kevin Sight, author of War Stories, states in his book How War Affects Soldiers. We see innocent lost and attitude evolve about what it means to kill. I also read a quote from Joseph Montville that rings true to me. Time is not the healer, but healing is the healer. I believe the way to heal is through the power of conscience. I hope and pray that all the leaders, especially President Obama and his cabinet, listen to the power of conscience before making any decision. I know it is a very hard decision to make, especially about war, because the ego wants drama, as Eckhart Tolle, author of The New Earth, said. I am confident if the spark of conscience started with our leaders in this country, it will spread in the world. It will be the ever most rewarding act that can be done for the world. Thank you for listening, and thank you, CTN, for the opportunity.
Most children today have never seen a TV antenna, and they don't necessarily know how cable TV gets to their home. But when they come to CTN, we teach them. We even show them how their parents used to watch television the old-fashioned way. And then they make TV.
Hi, welcome to Pack 419, also known as Pack Camp-A-Lot.
My name is Will Endres, and I like scouting because we do a lot of camping.
Call us to inquire about a free CTN tour for your students. 734-794-6150. CTN, teaching television to the next generation.